Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the We Are Yarn podcast. My name is Amanda. I'll be your host today.
I'm going down to the drugstore, buy a big old skein of yarn. I'm gonna knit me a kitten, even if you don't give a darn.
Do you have a warm, delicious beverage? I considered just drinking water during this recording because I haven't had enough water today. But Winter Storm Inga is pressing down on East Tennessee. Any minute, she's going to reach my little town here and unleash ungodly amounts of snow, totaling 2 to 4 inches, maybe, for my town. Now, I know, you guys up north are like, 2 to 4 inches, whatever. I know. It's exciting for us. It's not our thing. So, I have cat on lap, I have coffee in hand. Let's get on with it. So, I have been thinking about the 2018 Year of the Sweater challenge and the sweater along. And I think I'm going to amend the rules a little bit. Because I have heard talk of things like, I have the sweater started, but I have another sweater started that's further along, so I'm going to rip that first one out and then cast it back on so that it counts for the sweater along. And that kind of makes me sad. Because that's, okay. The spirit of the knit along is to knit up our stash, have more sweaters, because I think a lot of us may be a little intimidated by sweaters. They're big projects. Yeah. And so I want us all to have more sweaters and more in our what do you call it, in our wardrobes, hand knit sweaters. So I haven't updated this on Ravelry yet, but I'm going to update it for sweaters because I decided a sweater a quarter is doable for me, and it makes it not feel overwhelming for me. So I'm going to stick with the 4 sweaters. If you want to knit all 4 sweaters in the first quarter and throw them in the pot for the pattern draw at the end of the quarter, that's fine. If you knit 2 this quarter and 2 next quarter, do that. That's fine. A total of 4 sweaters will get you entered for the grand prize at the end. However you want to get those 4 sweaters in. They can be whips. If all 4 of them... But remember, a lot of people are starting from scratch. If all you have is the ribbing and bind off, please maybe not use that for this knit along. Let's be, let's be grown-ups. So that's what I'm gonna say. Don't go ripping out your sweaters just so they can count for this knit along. Don't feel like you have to drag it out all year. And I've been thinking about this too because I know maybe some of us have life events coming up and we know that we won't be able to get a sweater knit in that quarter because of life events that are going to be happening. So if you want to, but if you still want to get that prize, if you want to enter for 1 prize every quarter and you knit 2 this quarter, you can save 1 and enter it later. That's fine. I just want us all, I want it to be nice and low-key and low stress. The 1 sweater a quarter came from it needing, that being the way I'm going to make it low-key and low stress for me. And I think that'll help all of you guys too. Please don't go ripping out your sweaters. That just a little piece of me dies when I think of you doing that. So let's talk about my cast on for my first quarter. My first quarter sweater is the Malin by Isabel Kramer. There are 2, if there right now are 2 designers that just speak to me every time I see their patterns. It's Joji Locatelli and Isabel Kramer, and I know I'm not alone in that. Guys, and I have this new creamer. Sorry, tangent. I have this new creamer. I don't think we could even call this a tangent. It's not even related whatsoever to what I'm talking about. Kroger, my local grocery store, has this thing called the click list where you can, you know, order your groceries and they'll pick them for you, and then you just go park and call them and they bring it out to your car, and it's amazing. But so it's like online shopping for local groceries, right? And so I really like Natural Bliss creamer, but I don't often buy it because it's just those tiny little things, you know. And I'm a bulk buyer. I'm going to buy a giant thing if a giant thing is available and not go bad before I use it, because not for the cheapness factor, for the I don't have to think about it again for a lot longer factor. But so I was doing the click list and I noticed I had a digital coupon for the Natural Bliss, and so I opened it up and they have this new one that's made with honey. Honey in your coffee, I know. Bear with me. This one's called Honey Cream. And it's just ever so slightly, it's just sweet enough. And the creamer, oh, you need to try it. It's so good. Maybe you can find a coupon too. I think it's amazing. Okay, so Joji Locatelli and Isabel Kramer. I decided to go with Isabel Kramer for my first sweater, the male. Now let me tell you things I've already decided I'm going to change. Do you see how she looks like a petite person. I don't know how big she is, but she looks petite. And do you see how it stops just at the waistband of her jeans, or maybe a little lower? That's too short for me. So I'm going to be knitting it a little bit longer. And also, do you see how she has the sleeves rolled up? So here's the thing. If you had normal length arms and you don't ever have to roll up your sleeves because they're too long, I could see why you would think you want to do that. But most of my clothes I end up having to roll the sleeves up, or you know, if they scrunch here, it's just real baggy, and that's, if I'm making the sweater for me, that's not a detail I want to add. So longer length sweater, shorter sleeves. Those are two things I'm going to do. Now you can knit this sweater either with that crew neck that you just saw, or there's a cowl neck option. I am going to be going with the crew neck unless I get to the end of it and decide that the crew neck is what I really want to do. Cowl. I'm going to do the crew neck unless the cowl speaks to me when I'm finishing it. And maybe, you know, I've seen sweaters where they have a cowl separate in the same yarn, so if you want, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. So let me show you my yarn. Do I have the tag in here? I hope I have the tag in here. No tag. The tag must still be at the winding station. My 2-year-old helped me wind this because he's adorable. So this is the yarn. This is shepherd's wool. It's worsted weight, and it is in the sage colorway, and it is magnificent. It is butter. It is so nice. I said jokingly that this sweater was going to knit itself just because of how soft and buttery and amazing this yarn is. I'm just going to keep waxing poetic about it. You're going to be hearing about it for 3 months. Sorry. It's just amazing. The sage color, this is going to be perfect. This is totes my color. Totes my goats my color. Okay. So this is, I'm doing these on size 7s on my cubics because that's what I could find. I don't know where my size 7 Likeys are. I'd really like to be knitting them on my Likeys, but is it in a project? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm the worst with needles, guys. This is all I have though. The cast on, the setup row, purl back. That's what I've done. So, and that would be because I cast this on last Monday when I was off. It's now 8 days away from that. And I've been working that whole time and haven't had time to sit down. My knitting group meets on Sundays, and I went to knitting group before work, and I was like, I'll get started on these raglan increases. This is a top-down raglan, and the way it's written, it seems like you do a little bit of extra so the back is kind of higher and the neck is kind of lower. And guys, row 1 of Start Raglan Increases. I read it so many times. And read it again, and read it again, and knitted a few stitches and stopped and read it again, and I could not keep up with where I was supposed to be or what I was doing. It's been the flu this year is so horrible. So horrible, and it's been so busy and just a circus at my hospital that I didn't even have the brain space to start raglan increases. And that's not something that usually throws me for a loop the way it did this week. So I'm hoping, I'm off today. It's my normal day off. I work Wednesday and Thursday, and then I'm off Friday through the next Monday, I think, like many days. One night in there I have to break my vacation and work an overnight shift, but that's okay. One night, that's easy. So I'm hoping that in this next week I will become rested enough that I'm able to comprehend raglan increases. Okay. I think I just need to get clever about how I place markers, letting myself know when the last time was I increased, and I think that'll really help. Or I'm gonna have to do old-fashioned post-it note and have a grid, because she has you increasing on your sleeves and front and back on one row, and then just the front and back. No, just the back for one, and then front sleeve and back on the third row. So it's too much. My brain just isn't doing it. But hopefully it will after I get some rest. So we'll put that away for now. But I'm excited that I've gotten it cast on. I think once I get my flow, it'll flow. Let's just stick with the whips. I worked on, since that wasn't working out for me, I pulled out my depth cowl, and I've made it a pretty good clip through it. Remember, this is Fiber Seed DK in the apple cider colorway. And I've had a few moments where I've gone way off course, like right here. But managed to get back on course pretty quickly. And I really like the way it's turning out. I'm pretty pleased as punch with it. My ball is starting to collapse in on itself, so it's very near time for my 2-year-old to help me ball up my second ball of this, and they'll be gangbusters till the end. And it's all wrapped up in everything. So these last two projects are living in Whimsy Stitches bags, because they are the bee's knees. This one is in my smaller gentleman's stash, and my sweater is living in my St. Patrick's Day bag. And then my final whip, my friend Wendy, the Sassy Pants Knitter, is doing a very informal My cats are having words with one another right now. I'm sorry. They're right here. Get on. So my friend Wendy of the Sassy Pants Knitter is having an informal knit your hand spun knit along. She has some clever name for it that I cannot recall at the moment, but that's her thing for 2018 is knitting more with her hand spun, which I need to do too. I have all this beautiful hand spun, and then I'm hoping it'll help inspire me to get my wheel set up in a place where I don't have to pull it out and then put it away because of the 2-year-old, and because he's still really enamored with it, and I don't know how to normalize it easily. Maybe that's something else I'll tackle next week when I'm off work. But I pulled this out. Let's see. I applied this up in 2013, so 4.5 years ago. This is Alpaca and You, Falkland. It was 4.2 ounce gradient, and this is the beauty it is. Red, pink, orange, and yellow. Blowing out the camera a little bit. I originally spun it as a single, and then looked at it for a while as a single and realized that, you know, 1,200, 1,500 yards of a lace weight single is something that I would probably never knit. So I went back and chain plied it. Immediately regretted it because then one of these beautiful fingering lace weight patterns came out. Like, I mean, come on, how nice would that have been in like a even stars? Anyway, I would have never knit it. But I've been looking at it, wanting to use it for many, many years. And I pulled out this book, Crochet One Skein Wonders. I'm in love with this book. It has so many fabulous patterns in it. I've knit several things out of it already. I can't remember them right offhand, but it has, you know, gloves and bags and shawls and scarves, and you see how many little tabs I have on top, because those are all the things that I want to crochet out of it. And this pillow is one of them. It's called the Sunflower Pillow. Isn't that fun? And I thought that this would be perfect for that. So it calls for, designed by Gwen Steege. She used Freya Sport, and that's 217 yards, and I know I have at least that. And this probably is more worsted. It's really lightly plied. I should have plied it much stronger than I did. That's okay. Some bits work out more sport fingering, some are worsted, but you know, it's hand spun. That's the nature of it. This is how far I've gotten. And that's because it hangs out in my craft room. One of my kids' favorite things to do is turn the lights on and off, and I have a place in my craft room where he can climb up on a piece of furniture and reach the light switch himself, so I don't have to like stand there and hold him for him to turn the light on and off. So he gets in there and turns the light on and off, and gets all excited about the light, and I crochet. So 3 rows in is as far as I've gotten, or rounds. But that hopefully will get some more work in the next week or two. So, and I must have bought it in 2012 because that's on the back of that card. Oh, yeah. Alright, so I have finished objects too. Usually I like to talk about those first, but we start out with whips today. If you want to see any or all of these projects, I need to get that One Skein Wonder on my Ravelry page, but otherwise everything else is updated as I start it. And as I move along on Ravelry, my Ravelry name is Mandikat, Mandikat. And yeah, I have a group on Ravelry, the We Are Yarn podcast group. So please come hang out with me. I soaked it in my jasmine eucalypt. Oh, so good. This is my Decemberist, guys. Look at this. Finished shawl. Isn't that fabulous? Talk about pleased as punch. I was concerned it was going to be a little small, but it is. Let's see, where's my wingspan? My wingspan's there, so, you know, it's a few inches longer than my wingspan, so maybe 5.5 feet. And you can see how long it is. I think, this is what I think. If I was going to knit this again, this was knit using some deep stash. This was Knitting Luxury Fibers, roving, something roving. It's a worsted weight single. I held it double, and I love the way it modeled. I love it. I love it. I had been wanting to make a sweater out of this yarn, and I decided that I didn't have enough to make a full length sleeve sweater, and I decided, no, let's just do this. I have some other single that's pink, like a real pale pink. I think I'm going to do this again with that yarn. I don't know if I'll keep it or give it away or what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll put it up for charity, for a charity silent auction in September if they're interested in having a hand knit item. I don't know, but I really enjoyed the knit. It was a little bit hard on my hands just because the needles were so big. They were US 11s, I think. 13s. They're big. So I couldn't knit on it I couldn't knit on it for long stretches. I still have not woven my ends in. You can see, let's see, that's the one at the top. Oh, I can't find any. Yeah, here's one. Here, apparently they're all on this side. You can see those hanging out over there. Ow, ow, ow. But, yeah, I recommend this. This is the Decemberist. I think this is Isabel Kramer, isn't it, guys? I think it is. So, yep. There we are. It called for one specific bind off. I don't know, and I did that for 2 or 3 stitches, and then I decided that I was bored with it and just went back to Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off. I used that for almost, because everything I knit needs to be stretchy on the bind off, that's just about the only bind off I use now. I really like it. I've saved the best for last. Since I've cast on a sweater, can you guess what I finished before I cast it on? It is finished. I finished my fade. Look at it, guys. It's amazing. Oh my god. It's the best. I've gotten so many compliments on how well the yarns fade together and that they weren't dyed to be put together. And I'm really, it's a high compliment for me because it did take me a long time, you'll remember, to put my fade together. Now the way I did it, if you are like me and you are a little bit nervous about putting a fade together, this is how I did it to get yarn from my stash. I looked at my stash and I said, I have a lot of blue. I don't know why I have a lot of blue, because I don't usually wear a lot of blue. And having that realization when I was putting this together, I've actually started buying more blue. If I buy a shirt, it may probably be blue. So I don't know. Anyway, so I pulled out all my blues and piled them together, and they were on the table in my craft room. I'd cleaned the table off, and that's all that was on there. And every time I would walk in, I would just kind of shuffle them around, try and hold them up and try to find two that kind of flowed together. I wanted 5, if you'll remember at the beginning, but I realized this and this kind of would work, sorta. And or maybe I started out at the end. Maybe I started, this is a Fiber Charmer Panda, that's what she called it, I believe. Has bamboo in it. I think I held these two next to each other. This is an MCN base from Twist Fiber Studio in her Mountain Magic colorway, I believe is what it's called. So that's, I think, where I started. And then I thought that the introduction, these were pretty similar, just with the introduction of the green, and then I reached over into my stash and pulled, this is also Fiber Charmer Panda in the camo colorway, and I pulled it out and was pretty pleased with it. And then I tried to put a color in between. This is Sideboard Craft Room, a Socolate in Land of Blue Sky Waters. And I tried to put a color in between these two, and I decided it didn't really work. It got voted off the island, and this is my final fade. I really, really am just so pleased with it. I do wish I'd gotten a little bit more blue down here. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know how that happened, but that's okay. When I first put it on, before I blocked it, it was a little bit short and I was a little nervous, but with a good soak in the eucalyptus, it relaxed right out, and it's just the perfect length. The sleeves are the perfect length. I'll probably be inserting a video here modeling it for you. It's just, I'm over the moon with it. So that's what I have to talk about today. I have been working some on all those socks. My husband's socks are up to where the heels need to be. The Game of Thrones socks are very close to where the heels need to be. I have one stocking up to where the heel needs to be. So I may be working on that other stocking soon to get it to the heel. I was going to have a day, a stretch of time where I just knit the heels. And that's mostly in an effort to memorize, not mostly, it's mainly just to get it all to one point and then do the thinking part all at one time. But I'd really like to get the Fish Lips Kiss heel committed to memory. And so if I do 6 heels back to back to back, I should get that committed to memory. But I would really like to get my husband's socks done for Valentine's Day. So I may be making a decision pretty soon if I'm going to do a contrasting heel and getting that done. So, well, It's 7 minutes from when the snow's supposed to start, and there's no snow yet. That's pretty disappointing. Well, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to have a little bit of quiet time before my kid wakes up. So I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks until I see you again. Please remember, don't rip your sweaters out. It's okay. I think this is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to record me going over the rules and post them in the Ravelry group and on YouTube, so that that'll be the end. That's exactly the rules. We're not going to change them anymore. Okay? So, happy knitting, happy crafting, and I will be seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.
I just can't wait to finish. I got the kitten knitting blues. No, I just can't wait to finish. That's why I got those kitten knitting blues.